So we have another polynomial inequality. We're going to get everything on the left. So we're going to say 4x squared plus 2x minus 1 is less than or equal to 0. Okay. And the bad news is this doesn't factor. It's quadratic, but it doesn't factor. So we need to pull out the quadratic formula. The opposite of b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. And then what's that going to equal? Negative 2 plus or minus 4 plus 16 over 8. Now, we are going to get a decimal approximation, but we still need to simplify this. So let's say negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 20 over 8, which is going to be, here it goes, negative 2 plus or minus, that 20 is 4 times 5, so 2 square root 5 over 8. And then you can cancel by 2, so it's going to be negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 5 over 4. Now, this is important because it's going to be part of our answer. We're going to want an exact answer. But we're going to go ahead and get some decimal approximations. So let's go negative 1 minus the square root of 5 divided by 4. And let's get a decimal approximation for that. And I'm getting negative 0.8. Now I want to do negative 1 plus the square root of 5 divided by 4. If you're putting this in a calculator, put that in parentheses or do it in 2 parts. Okay, and I got 0.3. Now, remember, these are going to be your boundary points. Okay, those are your BPs. But to get them on the number line and to graph, we're going to use those decimal approximations. So I'll show you how this works. So here comes the number line, 0, and one of them was at about negative 0.8, right? So we'll say it's there. And the other one was, let's see, it was 0.3. Okay, now something different from this problem than the previous problem is, notice this time it has the equal to part, so those will be solid lines. Means we're going to have square brackets, we're going to be including those. Okay, so we've got our BPs, our boundary points. Now we need to do test values or test points. So the nice thing about the test points is that we don't have to pick decimals. We don't have to pick these weird irrational numbers. Okay, so it didn't factor, remember that? So we're just going to go to the original, 4x squared plus 2x minus 1, and see if that's less than or equal to 0. Either it is or it isn't. Okay, so let's think of a number less than negative 0.8. I'll say negative 1. That'll be a nice number to use. So I'm plugging in negative 1. Well, I have extra parentheses there, don't I? Okay, so what do I get? That's 1, 4, minus 2 minus 1. That's going to be 1. Is 1 less than or equal to 0? Yeah. Okay. So that section doesn't work. No on that section. Okay, now I have to pick a number between negative 0.8 and 0.3, which is 0 is probably the easiest one to pick, right? So let's plug in 0, which that's not too bad to do if you think about it, right? The first two terms are just going to go to 0. So I get negative 1 is less than or equal to 0. Is that true? Yes, that is true. And now I need to pick a number bigger than 3, which I'll just pick 1. Seems like an easy one to pick. 4 times 1 squared plus 2 times 1 minus 1. Is that less than or equal to 0? We'll soon find out. 4 plus 2 minus 1. So that's what, 5? Is 5 less than 0? No. Okay. So we did it. We did each section. We got a yes, a no, a yes, and a no. Okay, so what does the graph look like? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to graph it down here where I have a little more room. Here's 0. Here's 1 and negative 1. And we know that this number down here is negative 1 minus the square root of 5 over 4. So that Oh, it's a square bracket, isn't it? Because it's equal to. Okay. And then, don't like I made that really square. Okay. And then the other one was about here, and that was -1 plus the square root of 5 over 4. See, I want to use those exact answers. And it's a square bracket, and then all the numbers in between those two boundary points will work. There's the graph, and then here's what it looks like in interval notation, just coming from the graph. We have -1 minus the square root of 5 over 4, comma, -1 plus the square root of 5 over 4. And that is in square brackets. There we go.